I've got to be honest, I think it's over for Halo. I think Halo Infinite is not going to be able to come back from where it is right now, which is a terrible, terrible position. And this hurts me to say because Halo Infinite is the first 343 game that I've truly enjoyed, especially the multiplayer. It feels like the arena shooter that Halo should be. The maps are largely great. The content that is there is good, but I think the damage has truly been done. And in 2022, where there are a million free-to-play multiplayer games, Halo is just not going to become the game that it should be. So let's talk about Halo Infinite's new Season 2, the good and the bad, and more importantly, why I believe it looks like things are not headed in the right direction, to put it lightly. So Season 2 dropped. There was a lot of good, there was a lot of bad in that season. I want to go over all of that later, but the first thing that I really think needs to be discussed is the apathy. Before I go into the argument, let's lay out some numbers. And every time I bring up Steam charts, I always get people saying, oh, these aren't representative of the true population. There are a lot more people playing on Xbox, whatever. Maybe that's true. Maybe the raw numbers aren't super important. But over the past month, and especially over this past week, they've been illuminating in other ways. For one, over the past month, the Master Chief Collection, which unlike Halo Infinite is not free, has regularly beat Infinite in terms of player count. And now with the release of Halo Infinite Season 2, we can see that not many players have returned to the game who weren't already playing. I'll put the numbers up on the screen right now so you can see them. You'll see that on the day Halo Infinite Season 2 dropped, we did get a decent surge of players. Still not what I would hope for in terms of a Season 2 for what was allegedly one of the most expensive video games of all time and for what is the flagship free-to-play series on Xbox. But yeah, people returned. We didn't get anywhere close to where we did in even January, certainly not in December and November, but we got some players to return. The problem is already, just a couple of days after Season 2 launched, the population has nearly returned to normal. There may be about 20% players more, but you can see based on the charts that we're slowly returning back to the normal population, which just is not a good sign. This is the first new season after the game launched. There's new content here. Nobody cares. And this isn't some big conspiracy against 343. This isn't people revolting against the lack of cross-core customization. Halo Infinite just isn't a series that people are interested in playing or seeing. Nobody watches it on Twitch. Nobody talks about it. I grew up playing Halo CE in 2001, as did most of my friends. During the pandemic, when we were all quarantined, we would often get 16 of us, the same 16 have been playing since 2001, for online Halo game nights. All of them tried Halo Infinite when the game released, and literally none of them even care about Season 2. The thing about video games nowadays, especially where there's a million free-to-play games and 1,000,001 free-to-play shooters, is that you have one chance to make an impression and to stick your talons in. I think that's probably why COD does so many releases nowadays, because Halo Infinite had its chance to make an impression. When the game launched, people played it. There were over 250,000 on Steam alone. The problem is, they tried it, they got through the content, they figured out, as most of us have, that there wasn't nearly enough to justify a 6-month Season 1 for a free-to-play live service game, and they left. And that's the major problem. This game is not comparable to Halo 2 or Halo 3 or even Halo 1, not only because those games all had more content, but because Halo Infinite is advertised as a live service and is launching alongside other live services. What do I mean by that? Well, for one, there's a lot more competition now than there was back then, but for two, launching as a live service is typically a give and take between developers and the player. You lose out on some features that you would have paid for, but you get the game for free, and there's the promise of ongoing content supported largely through microtransactions. The interaction there is, if you're a free-to-play player, you still get the new gameplay content, but if you don't pay, you may miss out on cosmetics. Halo Infinite launched with all the downsides of a free-to-play live service game, i.e. less content, more paywalls, things like challenges systems meant to disrupt progression, but we didn't get the key promise of a free-to-play system, more content. 6 months to Season 2 is unacceptable in terms of a live service game. I know that this is a bit hindsight is 2020, but if I were the head of 343, I would have never ever in a million years agreed to a 6-month Season 1. It's just beyond comprehension. It's so out of touch with what live service games are nowadays. We've got Fortnite, Apex Legends, Call of Duty, all of these games releasing content very regularly. The fact that now we only got 2 new maps and 1 new arena map for Season 2, and that we're going to have another 6-month season, it's beyond comprehension. This is so out of touch with what you need to be a successful video game in 2022 2 that I just can't believe that Microsoft would allow this to happen in the $500 million video game that is being floundered. And this is part of the reason why no one cared. And you know what? I am going to take a little bit of credit here because this is something that I got a lot of heat for calling out during E3 before Infinite's release. I was very, very concerned that it seemed like they were being very selective with the amount of content they were showing us. I felt like they were purposefully not giving us details and instead just giving us highly cut content that looked good, but it was worrying that not only did it seem like there was nothing really new brought to the standard arena format, but there was no new major game mode, whether it's an invasion or a war zone or whatever, to help bring in new players. In my opinion, there were some pretty obvious signs that the game was going to be content lacking from E3 of last year. And what we've essentially got is a year of betas where even afterwards the game is not going to be where it should have been at launch. That's just the truth. The way Halo Infinite shipped is baffling. The custom games options are completely broken. You can't customize things, make your own game modes. You can't play King of the Hill until this season. Halo Infinite didn't launch with King of the Hill. There's no Griff Ball. Feeder is still routinely broken. Most of the game modes that launched with Halo CE, or at least many of them, are still not in the game. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Season 2 has not fixed these issues. This game needed more time because it didn't get that time because it was obviously rushed to us because of whatever management issues at 343, COVID, whatever caused this disaster. It's not going to get a second chance. There are too many other games to play. People, the public, is not going to come back to Halo Infinite. Now, there will probably always be somewhat of a regular player base, a small player base, because Halo does have dedicated fans, but it sucks to know that Halo's not going to go back to the top where it belongs, and this also does compromise the future content we get. As I said, despite how poorly managed everything around the game is, I love the core gameplay loop, and I want a lot more content. We're not going to get as much as we would had the game been as successful as it should be. And this is the state of things right now. Imagine how bad things are going to be in 6 months. There's no coming back for this. There's just not, and it's such a goddamn shame. That's not even to talk about the new problems that Season 2 has also introduced. It seems like 343 has taken away skill jumps, for example, or not, it seems like they have taken away skill jumps, which do nothing but benefit the hardcore community. Basically, there are certain places on maps that skillful players can take advantage of to make jumps that other players can't. The competitive community loves it. The more social community just doesn't care. And 343 took time to remove pretty much all of those from the maps when no one was asking for that, and it's just honestly a waste of time. Same with little campaign bugs, like they've been removed for some reason, no one really knows. That may have something to do with co-op, so I'm a bit more kind of understanding there, but it's just like challenge progression, for example, for the new mode that launched with Season 2 was broken out of the gate. It's just so emblematic of how Halo Infinite has been managed, and it's so unfortunate. I feel bad for 343, but I also can't help but blame management. Like, the game is in a state that it never should have reached on launch. If the game were going to come out, say, this summer, I think people would have been a lot more understanding and there would have been more content. If it would have came out in September or December, I think we would have been in a really good place, but instead, no one cares. There are some good things about Season 2. It sucks that there's only 2 maps, but they do seem to be pretty good. The new armor core is really cool. I love the kind of look of it. I like the new battle pass as well. It's not bad. I also think 343 is really consumer friendly by making not only all battle passes returnable to, you can go back and play a premium battle pass if you buy it at any point, but each battle pass will also have enough currency to pay for itself. So essentially you can buy the battle pass once and get every subsequent battle pass for free, which is pretty cool. You can do that in other games too, like Fortnite, but the thing about Halo Infinite is that those credits can be found even if you don't complete the battle pass during the time frame, which is nice. That little bit of niceness though doesn't make up for how bad of a position this game is, and it's not because I've got some sort of philosophical issue with Halo Infinite. It's just the reality of the market that no one cares, and that sucks, but it is what it is. Anyway guys, until next time, be safe, have a good one, and may the force be with you.